Welcome to 11 Adventures. I'm Pastor Evans.
I'm Mrs. Evans.
Want to thank you for joining us today and want to remind you that if it's your first time here, if it's your 15th time here, please like this video and let the algorithm know you like it. Subscribe to the channel if you have not and hit that bell so you'll know when our next video is released. So we're going to get right into our topics today. And the first part of our relationship that we want to share with you today was a little rough.
Right.
It was the day that I proposed to my wife. That she's making that dear near song because it wasn't a fairy tale proposal.
It wasn't anybody's tale.
By any means. It was a little.
Never should have did it. Not like that, at least.
Right. So we were. Am I telling the story?
So,
are you gonna tell?
You
it?
can.
All right. So we were.
You can tell the story from your perspective, and I'll tell it from mine.
Okay. So we were at a restaurant. We had gone to church that morning.
Okay.
So
it was a Sunday.
It was a Sunday.
Yay.
And we had gone to a restaurant for lunch. Restaurant called Coco's.
Coco's, y'all. Coco's.
First of all,
the home of the jumping monkey. But really, the food wasn't all that tasty.
Well, it's a good thing Coco's isn't around anymore because we wouldn't have got no endorsements from them. But, like I told you in the last video, your boy is on a budget. So we were trying to get the best food we could. Anyway, that doesn't matter. So
that does matter.
We're at Coco's and we're having a conversation. It's after church. Having a conversation.
After first service.
After the first service, so we're going back.
Right.
For the second service at later that night. So having a conversation, I'm trying to express to her how much she means to me. And if you watched the second video from this season, you know that we had already broken up once. So I'm trying to express to her how much she meant to me. And in the midst of my expression, she begins to cry. And I'm like, this is not what's going on. I think you asked me, was I breaking up with you? Oh,
okay, y'all. We've been together for a while. It is June 6th, 1999. And so I'm sitting here and he begins to say, you know, we had a real good time together and I appreciate you spending, you know, your moments with me and, you know, but like time changes. And so I'm like, what? You're not about to break up with me. Like, I can't. Like, I gave you a second chance. I cannot do this. Why are you talking about all the time that we spent and how you appreciate the time that we spent together? And now you're talking about all the time. See, I had this conversation with several people I've never been broken up with at this point.
Right.
So I've had this conversation. So I have seen this movie. So I think I know what the ending is. I didn't know it was going to have a surprise ending, y'all. Okay.
Right. There was a twist.
Okay, there was a twist. But I've had this conversation with several people like, you know, I'm happy I really got to get to know you. We've been, you know, really good friends and we've shared a lot of great moments. So y'all, I don't just start crying because I'm mad, okay? I'm mad. I start boo-hooing because I'm like, why did I give this one another chance? Why did I do that to myself? I'm in the public. So he brought me to a public place so I couldn't strangle him, apparently.
First of all, you wasn't gonna strangle him.
Like, not physically.
Right.
But.
You need to clear that up.
Right, not physically.
Right.
Okay, so I'm crying, y'all. Because he talking. And he ain't never talked so much in his life.
No, I don't talk that much.
Like, he was putting like a whole bunch of sentences together. So then I blank out for just a second.
So I realized she was freaking out, as you just heard. And I'm trying to communicate with her how much I enjoy spending time with her, how much I want to spend time with her forever. Now, I had not planned on asking her to marry me. Because I think at
then
some
why
point...
did, I still don't understand, like 22 years later, like why we having this conversation about...
I was grateful because we had been together for over 6 months. She took me back, and I thought we were on a good train. I was thinking that she was my wife. I wanted to marry her. So at the time, I was just trying to express my love and care, but the way that I was expressing it made her think that my love and care had ended.
Right.
So I think at some point you said, "You're not breaking up with me, or are you breaking up with me?" And I was like, "No, I'm trying to tell you that I want to marry you." And then I don't know what happened after that. But
and I was like, "What?"
Right.
Wait, what?
Right.
And then you said what?
And then I said, I probably said, "Will you marry me?"
Yes, that's what you said.
So I'm trying.
And
I was
like,
trying to express. Wait, I was trying to express.
Wait a minute. What are you talking about?
So the whole point of the initial conversation was just to be, because we had talked about. I'm sure we had talked by that time about just being expressive, about being expressive and letting you know how I feel. So I was trying to do that. Mm-hmm. And it came out all bad.
Right.
So.
And then I look around and there are people watching.
Right. I didn't see the people.
Right. And I'm like.
Because I was like freaking out because I didn't want her crying and stuff. But yeah, that's how it happened.
So then I said, "Oh, yes?" Just like that.
Right.
"Oh, yes?"
Yes. And then we went back to church.
Then we went back to church.
Right.
And then people clapped.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yay.
Yay. So that's our...
That's our proposal story.
Our proposal story.
Ooh.
So, I will give my insights first. Is that all right with you? So what I learned from our proposal story was, is, still, will always be, communication is crucial.
Right. Side note, y'all. That should have been number one red flag, that he didn't communicate well. But I didn't get it. I didn't get it.
You didn't get it.
I didn't get it.
Yeah, you got it now.
Yeah.
So what did you learn?
I learned that your life can change anywhere. Because for me, I had thought about the moment that someone would ask me to marry them many times. Did I dream about my wedding? Not necessarily. But I did, because of TV and magazines and conversation, did think that I wanted it to be a grand moment. And y'all, this was a sad moment, okay? I mean, my eyes was red.
Right.
And fortunately, it was a great change. And I often wonder, like, how much more exciting could it have been if you were able to propose when you had planned to? I don't know. However, your life can change anywhere.
Right.
And mine changed for the better that day, June 6th, 1999. Yours did too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fabulous. So the next section we wanted to share with you guys is entitled The Engagement. And this was the 6-month period in time before we got married, because we were only engaged 6 months. Another show. But during this time, we I think we had a lot of fun together. It was a little stressful, As it got closer to our wedding day, I mean, it got real stressful.
Right.
Because my side of the family at the time, because it wasn't our family yet, okay, because we were just engaged. So my side of the family was still dealing with all the things that they were dealing with. And during that time or process in time, they had a hard time accepting you as, first of all, my boyfriend, and now my fiance. And so they still lingered and longed for a relationship past.
Right.
And that wasn't happening, y'all. But however, I think they treated you well.
I didn't feel badly treated.
You didn't feel badly treated.
They talked about me when I wasn't around.
They probably did. But my grandmother talked to you in your face, right? She called you a nappy-headed
Negro.
Yeah. Love Big Mom. Oh, I miss you, Big Mom. So also during that time, we began to do our wedding planning, which was pretty fun, like picking out invitations and stuff, the things that people do once they get engaged. And that stuff wasn't very difficult because we were friends first.
Right.
And our relationship had gotten closer. And so our relationship wasn't the issue, right? It was the external pressures outside during this time. And so one of the lessons that I wanted to share was, first of all, that the person that you should marry should be your best friend. And I have seen many marriages and talked to many couples. And I think for some of them, some of the issues that they were experiencing came from them not being each other's best friend. And I would like to say all, okay? But I'm not going to say that. Okay? Because I think that every husband and wife should be a best friend. First of all, I think you should be a brother and sister in Christ. He is currently still my brother in Christ, and he has been my brother in Christ. Even though we're married now, people are like, "That's your brother?" Yeah, he's my brother in Christ. But during that time, also, I think that not only your fiance should be your best friend, but also you should spend as much time as you can with your in-laws. I have experienced myself some tension with my mother-in-law, but because I didn't spend much time with her, like you guys saw last episode, a picture with her, she seemed darling. She seemed fantastic.
Right.
And so I didn't have any concerns at the time. However, I may have seen her 2 times in our whole relationship. I hadn't even really spent any time with your sister. And then your dad was
he had already been gone.
Yeah, he had already been gone for a while. And then there weren't necessarily any cousins or anybody to spend time
hang out with other people.
Right. And so at the time, my only encounters were with his sister once or twice, and then I hugged his mom, said hi a few times, but I hadn't really spent any time with them.
Right.
And that's super important, especially when as a couple, you join your 2 lives together, whether saved or unsaved. You're still joining those 2 families together, and it's important that you at least have an understanding that you're marrying someone's son, and someone's son is marrying you, and that's the primary relationship. And so it can be difficult if either set of in-laws on either side, or if you have an additional set of in-laws because of step parents, that you at least are cordial to each other, because that can cause a lot of issue in your marriage. And so you need to see those red flags. And I don't necessarily think that that's a reason to run, but you have to gauge that for yourself. So spend time with your in-laws.
My insight for this section for the engagement is shorter is better.
Shorter is better.
I don't think you need to be engaged for that long. We personally don't think that you need to spend that much money on your wedding, because after your wedding, then you are married, and you need to spend that time on your marriage. And if you spend all your money on the one day, then you won't have any money left. You don't need to take that long in your engagement period. If you plan on actually getting married, I mean, people have been engaged for 3 years. That's ridiculous.
It just seems long, but I mean, for us, our preparations, I mean, outside of the invitations, we really had a community wedding. People came together and they supported us, or at least at First Christian, yes, Church of Compton. They supported us, and they even paid for different aspects of the wedding.
Right.
And so I'm appreciative of that. Do what works for you, and if you're enjoying the process, and if you want to have your dream destination wedding, I say have it. I just, we maybe over, it has to have been over a year now. We were at visiting a church here where we live, and after service one day, the minister was like, "Oh, such and such is getting married today." So anybody here who would like to stay, you can. And then they came up and got married right quick. And then they were becoming missionaries. And so they were leaving the next day on a mission trip. And it was it was like no preparation, and it was the most beautiful experience that I had experienced, because it doesn't take all of that.
Right. The last part that we want to share with you is after we got engaged, after I blew the proposal.
After that fabulous engagement.
Right, and then we were engaged for a little while. We decided that it would be the best thing for us.
Right.
To shack up.
To share these expenses.
Right. And to get to live together prior to marriage. Now listen, I said shacking up because that's an old people term.
Right.
But we decided to cohabitate.
Right. We
were
were trying
we got
to
married.
But you know what? It was premature, because we were trying to blend our lives before we blended our lives.
Yeah. Yeah, it was interesting. So, and the issue is, it felt like a really good idea at the time.
I mean, it felt really good. Like, oh, you can move in with me in my apartment, because at the time he was living with his mom. And then I felt like, oh, well, really, I mean, if you want to tell the truth, he ain't never paid no rent before, so that's what I was thinking. And I was like, I don't know if I want to combine my life with someone who I know has never paid rent and had that responsibility.
Right.
So that was one of the reasons for me.
She was testing me.
I mean, it was a little bit of, this is the broadcast, the whatever system, right? So I wanted to see how he dealt with responsibility, because I hadn't had the opportunity at that time to see how responsible he was, and how he dealt with responsibility and what he did under pressure.
Right.
And so I felt like it was important, because he was going to be my husband, that I could see how he would deal with paying rent, paying a gas bill, a light bill. And y'all, okay, that's a story for another time. But
and I mean, you're thinking that, oh, this would be good, I can find out if he's responsible and all that stuff. I was thinking, oh, this would be cool, I could live with my wife.
Is that what you was thinking?
I wanted to spend time. I enjoy spending time with you, and I was like, oh, okay, good, we'll be living in the same place, and we can.
Well, you had like roses in your eyes, rose-colored glasses.
Have some good times. Together.
Right.
Yeah. And I mean, and then we can start combining our lives, and that was the other thing. We can start combining lives, getting things ready. I don't know if we did bank accounts at that point.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean,
it was, all those logical things were why I thought it was a good idea.
Right. Well, what I wanted to say was, I don't think that it was a good idea. However, I learned a lot about this man that I was going to call husband.
Right.
But I learned them because we were marching towards marriage. Like, we were quickly moving towards marriage. We were already engaged. We already kind of had an idea of when we were getting married. So we had the light at the end of the tunnel. And I think maybe sometimes people get engaged and don't even have any light. It's kind of like, will you marry me? Yeah, cool. Oh, we're engaged. And then, I mean, the tunnel
is more vague, huh?
Yeah, it's more vague. And so not that I think it was a good idea, but I did feel like, because we had some light at the tunnel that I could see, that it would be a good time of getting to know him in a different way.
Right.
And then learning about him and how he would deal with a household. The lesson that I wanted to share here is that it wasn't necessary.
Right.
And the reasons why I don't think that it was necessary is because the things that you find out about your spouse, if you've done a good job in the dating process, during your engagement process, then it will not be easy.
Right.
However, it should not break you.
Right.
Okay? And the things that I learned about him were just comical to me. I mean, it was funny. And I joke about it still today about those things. But they would not have broken us.
Right.
And I wish someone would have been around for us to tell us like, you don't need to do this step, because I think what it did was introduce too many opportunities for sin.
Yeah.
Sin that we would later have to, because we sowed it, so we had to reap.
Right. One of the things that we share with folks now is that, like all those things that we kind of found out about each other while we were engaged and living together, it would have been, I don't know, maybe fun was the word. It would have been more interesting, more fun. It would have been different to find those things out after we were married. And I think we robbed ourselves of those experiences of finding out new stuff about your wife and your husband.
Right.
Because we did it prematurely. And I think, not judging anybody, but I think that when you do that, you rob yourself of all those things that would be wonderful learning experiences and wonderful experiencing together after your marriage, if you decide to live together first. So my insight was about shacking or living together or cohabitating is the word we want to use, is avoid it if possible.
Yes.
And it's possible.
I mean, it's always possible.
Right.
I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think it's necessary. And, it's kind of difficult to be like, I don't think it's necessary. I did it, but I don't think it's necessary, because people often say, well, if you did it, then you're trying to stop me from doing it.
Right.
And you can't tell me not to do it because you did it.
Yes, I can. You can avoid some of the spoiled surprises. You can avoid some of the troubles that you're going to, that you will endure for cohabitating prior to getting married. Prior to getting married, if you simply avoid it.
Right.
And yes, we can say don't do it even though we did it, because we know what happened. Just like someone that has a car accident can tell you, hey, don't have a car accident.
Right, don't drink and drive.
Don't drink and drive, because here's what happened.
Right.
You won't tell those people that they can't tell you that not to do it. So
right.
Avoid it if possible. And it's possible.
It is.
So we took you on all our house tours, the things that we looked at, the different builders, the different models, the different options that were presented. But today what we want to do, before we show you the process of our house being built, because that was exciting.
That was exciting.
We wanted to share with you what we were looking for. And it may or may not help you in your search, but I want to share with you what we were looking for. For us, we have me and my wife, and we have 2 kids, so those are kind of the things that we were trying to make accommodations for. We're trying to purchase something that was going to be useful and good for our family.
Yeah.
So, you want to share with them some of the things that we were looking for?
So, this wasn't the first time that we were looking to purchase a home. We actually had purchased a home in 2007.
Right.
And
Pre-kids.
Yeah, pre-kids. During the process of dreaming, because we weren't actually looking to purchase a home. During the process of dreaming, we had come up with a list of things that we wanted.
Right.
Okay. And so I'll share a few of the things that I was dreaming of. And then, this one will share some of the things that he was dreaming of.
Right.
So the first thing on my list is and I know that this shouldn't be the most important thing, but I definitely wanted a separate tub shower. I realized that having a separate tub shower was going to be really good, not just for me, but for our marriage. Because having to wait to get in the tub or having to rush out of the tub wasn't gonna work for me. So that was like my top priority. What was yours?
My top priority at the time was I wanted a 3-car garage. Because I wanted to be able to park the cars in one part of the garage, and I wanted to have like a gym set up in the other part of the garage. So 3-car garage was probably the top priority at the time. Yeah.
And then my second thing was I wanted to live in a home that was built in the 2000s.
Right.
Our first home was built in 1964. My Lord. And it felt and it reacted as if it was built in 1964. That was the second thing for me. And what about you?
I think probably what you call a single family house, because our other one was a townhouse. and having had the experience of living in our rental home. It was the first time since I lived at home that we didn't have to share walls, and there was a yard, and there was all kinds of things. So having a standalone single family house may have been first, but we'll call it second. So we don't have to share walls and have our own yard and be able to take care of and do the things that we wanted to do with our home.
Right. So the third thing on my list was having a single story home. When we bought our first home, it was a 2-story townhouse, and I'm grateful for that home. However, I dreaded walking up and down the stairs when I was tired. Quite often my husband would have to drag me up the stairs because I fall asleep at like 5:00 p.m. y'all. And then having to run up and down the stairs to get baby bottles and milk and formula, like it was wild. And so for me, having a single story family home was important.
So my last thing that I really wanted was just enough rooms for us and the kids, and to have at least one extra room for a couple of reasons. One, so we can shoot this thing, so we can do our show that you guys love.
Right.
And then the other thing was just having another space, either whether it's going to be an office or whether it's going to be a place for you to play your music, or just to have another room that could be useful, like a utility room. That was the last thing I really wanted.
So, like my husband, I wanted to make sure that each one of our kids had their own room, and then I wanted to have an extra room for guests, or to put the, my piano in, or to make part of it an office. And then I definitely just wanted to have that extra space for whatever life brought to us. So that's my number. Where am I at?
Yeah, 4.
I'm at 4.
That's your 4. That was my 3. That's your 4.
Oh, that's my 4.
What's your 5?
And then 5, my number 5 was I needed an island, you guys. I had spent quite a bit of time watching.
An island outside with water and stuff?
No, I needed a kitchen island.
Oh, kitchen.
And I had spent quite a bit of time looking at home improvement shows and going to other people's homes who had them. And so I really wanted an island. And I didn't just want like a 2-foot by 3-foot island. I wanted an island where I could lay on it and still have more space.
Right.
And so that was my 5th most important thing. And then the last thing that was important to me, because our kids are growing up and our daughter is currently a teenager, my Lord, and our son is quickly approaching teenageship, is that I wanted to have 2 living spaces so that I could be in one living space and they could be in another living space with their friends. And that was important to me because with children, as much as you love them, you want them to have a space that you don't have to also be occupying while they're entertaining themselves or company.
You want them to go away sometime.
I just want you to go away.
So those are the top things we're looking for in a home. I mean, there were a bunch of other little things that I'm sure we were thinking about, but those are kind of the main things we were looking for in a home. And we're excited to show you kind of the process of building our home as we go along. And hopefully you like it.
So we really appreciate the time that our viewers have spent with us during this journey. And this season is not over yet. However, we are moving forward with showing you our house journey. And we have more to share. Coming soon will be us revealing which model we chose, as well as the home purchasing process.
Well, thank you for walking through our journey of our relationship, the things that we learned and things that we experienced today. But for now, that's it. What you doing?
I don't know. I'm sorry.
But for now, that's it. That's all.
That's it. That's all. See you next time.